Hello, I am Manan and I'm going to read Dusk. This is a short story by H. Munro, who wrote under the pen name Saki. Munro has mastered the art of the unexpected ending. In Dusk, he uses the same device and holds the reader's interest till the very end. Norman Gottsby sat on a bench in the park, with his back to a strip of bush-planted sward fenced by the park railing, and the fronting him across a wide stretch of carriage drive. Hyde Park Corner, with its rattle and hoot of traffic, lay immediately to his right. It was some 30 minutes past 6 on an early March evening, and dusk had fallen heavily over the scene. Dusk mitigated by some faint moonlight and many street lamps. There was a wide emptiness over the road and sidewalk, and yet there were many unconsidered figures moving silently to the half-lit light or dotted unobtrusively on bench and chair, scarcely to be distinguished from the shadow gloom in which they sat. The scene pleased Scott's eye and harmonized with his present mood. Dusk, to his mind, was the hour of the defeated. The wanderers in the dusk did not choose to have strange looks fastened on them. Therefore, they came out in this bad fashion, taking their pleasure sadly in a pleasure ground they had emptied of its rightful occupants. Beyond the sheltering scene of the bushes and plains came a realm of brilliant lights and noisy rushing traffic. So God's by imagination pictured things as he sat on his bench in the almost deserted walk. Money troubles did not press on him. Had he so wished, he could have strolled into the thoroughfares of light and noise, and taken his place among the jolliest ranks of those who enjoyed prosperity or struggling for it. On the bench by his side sat an elderly gentleman with a drooping air of defence that was probably the remaining vestige of self-respect in an individual who had creased to defy successfully anybody or anything. His clothes could be scarcely be called shabby, at least they passed muster in half-light, but one's imagination could not have pictured the wearer embarking on the purchase of a half-crown box of chocolates or laying out ninepence on a coronation buttonhole. He belonged unmistakably to the forlorn orchestra whose piping no one dances. He was one of the world's laments who include no responsive weeping. As he rose to go, Gospa imagined him returning or to some bleak lodging where his ability to pick a weekly bill was beginning and end of the interest he inspired. His retreating figure vanished slowly into the shadows, and his place on the bench was taken almost immediately by a young man fairly well dressed, but scarcely more cheerful of mien than his predecessor. As if to emphasize the fact that the world went badly with him, the newcomer unburdened himself of an angry and very audible expensive as he flung himself into the sea. "You don't seem in a very good temper," said Godsby, judging that he was expected to take due notice of the demonstration. The young man turned to him with a look of disarming frankness, which put him instantly on his guard. "You wouldn't be in a good temper if you were in a fix I am in," he said. "I have done the silliest thing I have ever done in my life." "Yes?" said Godsby dispassionately. "Came up this afternoon, meaning to stay at Patagonian Hotel in Berkshire Square," continued the young man. "When I got there, I found that it had been pulled down some weeks ago and a cinema theatre run up on its site. The taxi driver recommended me to another hotel which was some way off, and I went there. I just sent a letter to my people giving them the address, and they then I went out to buy some soap. I'd forgotten to pack any, and I hate using the hotel. Then I strolled about a bit, had a drink at a bar, looked at the shops, and when I turned my steps back to the hotel, I suddenly realized that I didn't remember its name or even what street it was in. There's a nice predicament for a fellow who hasn't any friends or connection in London. Of course, I can wire to my people for the address, but they won't have got my letter till tomorrow. Meanwhile, I'm without any money. Came out with about a shilling on mine, which I went buying the soap and getting the drink. And here I am, wandering about with two pence in my pocket and nowhere to go for the night. There was an elegant pause after the story had been told. I suppose you think I have spun you rather an impossible yarn, said the young man presently, with a suggestion of resentment in his voice. Not at all impossible, said Cotswell judicially. I remember doing exactly the same thing once in a foreign capital, and on that occasion there were two of us, which made it even more remarkable. Luckily, we remembered that the hotel was on a sort of canal, and when we struck the canal, we were able to find our way back to the hotel. The youth brightened at the reminiscence. In a foreign city, I wouldn't mind so much, he said. One could go to one's consul and get the requisite help from him. Here, in one's own land is far more brilliant if one gets into a fix. Unless I can find some decent champ to swallow my story and lend me some money, I seem likely to spend the night on the embankment. I am glad, anyhow, that you don't think the story outrageously improbable. He threw a good deal of warmth into the last remark, as though perhaps to indicate his hope that Godspy did not fall far short of the request decency. Of course, said Godspy slowly, the weak point of your story is that you can't produce the soap. The young man sat forward hurriedly, felt rapidly in his pockets of his overcoat, and then jumped it to his feet. I must have lost it, he muttered angrily. To lose a hotel and a cake of soap in one afternoon suggests willful carelessness, said Godspy. But the young man scarcely waited to hear the end of the remark. He flitted away down the path, his head held high, with an air of somewhat jacked jauntiness. It was a pity, mused Godspy. The going out to get one one's own soap was the one convincing touch in the whole story, and yet it was just that the little detail had brought him to grief. If he had the brilliant forethought to provide himself with a cake of soap, wrapped and sealed with a consolate of the chemist's counter, he would have been a genius in his particular line. Genius certainly consists of an infinite capacity for taking precautions. With the reflection, Cotswell rose to go. As he did so, an exclamation of concern escaped him. Lying on the ground by his side of the bench was a small oval packet, wrapped and sealed with the consulate of a chemist's counter. It could be nothing else but a cake of soap, and it had eventually fallen out of the youth's overcoat pocket when he flung himself down the street. In another moment, Gatsby was suckled down the dusk-shrouded path in anxious quest for the youthful figure in a light overcoat. He had nearly given up the search when he caught the sight of an object of his pursuit standing irreversibly on the border of a carrier drive. eventually uncertain whether to strike across the park or make for the blistering pavements of Knightsburg. He turned around sharply with an air of defensive hostility when he found Godsby hauling him. The important witness of your geniusness of your story has turned up, said Godsby, holding out the cake of soap. It must have slid off your pocket when you sat down on the street. I saw it on the ground after you left. You must excuse my disbelief, but appearances were really rather against you. And now, as I appeal to testimony of the soap, I think I owe to abide by its verdict. If the loan of a sermon is any good to you, the young man hastily removed all the doubt on the subject by pocketing the coin. Here is my card with my address, continued Godsby. Any day this week will do for the return of the money. And here is the soap. Don't lose it again. It's been a good friend to you. Lucky thing you finding it, said the youth, and then with a catch in his voice, he blurted out a word or two of thanks and fled in the direction of the night's school. Poor boy, he has nearly an impossible broke down, said Godsby to himself. I wouldn't wonder either. The relief from his country must have been accurate, and the lesson to me to not to be clever in judging by circumstances. As Godsby retraced his step back to the seat where the little drama had taken place, he saw an elderly gentleman poking and peering beneath it and all on the sides of it, and recognized his earlier fellow occupant. Have you lost anything, sir? He said. Yes, sir, a cake of soap. Thank you.